A lot of people don't realize this, but Harbor Freight does sell yard tools. They carry it underneath their Atlas brand. Everything I've read online tells me that these are no joke. These are 80 volt and they work extremely well. So I reached out to Harbor Freight and I asked them to send me some of their yard tools, and they did. Today we're going to be taking a look at the cordless string trimmer, and we're going to find out just how well this operates. This particular package includes a string trimmer, but it does not include a battery or a battery charger. Those are sold separately, although I did see some of the tools come with battery chargers and batteries, so you just have to play the game and figure out what you need. But just so you know, this is the trimmer only. Inside the box, you're going to find the guard, the handle, the weed trimmer itself, and you're going to find a manual and a tool to assemble all of this. The handle comes in two parts. It's kind of folded over in a box, but it just snaps together, just kind of like an old-fashioned vacuum cleaner handle. And I will say mine took a considerable amount of effort, which is why you didn't see me struggle with it offline. But I loosened this up a little bit and then it just snapped together. And now we're just going to want to take the Allen wrench that they gave us and just tighten it back up. And this just holds everything firmly in place and makes everything snug. Installing a handle is pretty simple. There's basically a U bracket on the back side of the handle, and you made it up with some screws on top. Once we get the screws tightened, we'll move on to the guard. Installing the guard is pretty easy. We just remove these two screws here. We put the guard on and we put the screws right back into the very same holes they came out of. And then we just tighten those screws up, and we're pretty much all but done. Now, taking a look at the tool itself, the batteries slide in from the end. There are different batteries that are available. The particular battery that I have is a 4 amp hour at 80 volts or an 8 amp hour at 40 volts. Now, this tool is an 80 volt tool, so it's going to utilize 80 volts out of the battery, and it's going to have 4.0 amp hours. The tool itself operates with a safety push button right here. You cannot turn it on unless you press this down, and then when you do press this down, you can take your trigger finger and turn the unit on. This trigger is also variable. It's not an on-off trigger. You can speed it up and slow it down. There is rubber overmolding anywhere where you will be hanging onto the tool. Anything you see in orange is a fiber reinforced plastic. The shaft components are metal. They appear to be powder coated. The end of the trimmer is also metal. It's all one piece right down in here. That way, if you do whack it against a tree or something, you're not going to shatter plastic components because it's made of metal. The way you load the string is you take this particular arrow and you line it up with this particular arrow. And you'll notice right here, it says line in because you feed the line in. You don't have to take the head apart to load it. You just take a piece of string like this and you feed it through just following that arrow, and it will come out the other side of the trimmer. And then you pull equal amounts on each side, and then after you do that, you just wind it in the direction that it says, and that winds your string up. After you wind the string up, you just want to make sure it's a little bit shorter than the cutter and you're ready to use it. The trimmer is advertised to have a 14 or 16 inch cut. Out of the box, it is set to 14 inches. If you want to make it a 16 inch cut, well, you just flip the cutting bracket around 180 degrees. So using the tool they provided, you back the screws out, you rotate it, put the screws back in, and you get a little bit of a bigger cut. And trust me, the motor can handle it. I've been using it, as you can see. With the 4 amp hour battery on it, it feels very well balanced when you pick it up by the handle. It doesn't feel incredibly heavy, which is really nice. It definitely feels lighter than an engine operated weed trimmer. But how well does it work? Well, we're going to find out. And I'll tell you what, it did really well. There's definitely a lot of power in the motor. I just kind of held it wide open and just kind of went to work. It knocked all of the brush down. The brush was various degrees of thicknesses, but it didn't really care. It just did the job and it did it well. So what are my final thoughts? I really like it. It performed extremely well. And as for the power of the motor, I did let my neighbor use this weed trimmer for a little bit, and his comment was he did not realize that electric trimmers had gotten to the point where they're just as powerful as, well, his gasoline weed trimmer. Now keep in mind, what I showed you was the tool only. When you buy it, you get the tool only. You're still going to need a battery and you're going to need a charger. And with any of these yard tools with the higher voltage batteries, the ecosystem isn't exactly cheap to get into. But the bonus with Harbor Freight is once you get the batteries, once you get the charger, well, the tools, those prices are very reasonable. And by what we have found out so far, the Atlas line is really good. It's worth getting into that ecosystem. They have a lot of yard tools and a couple of other things, and I'm going to show you some of those in the future. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos. At the very least, you might be entertained.